Rabbi Bookett in town?
Rabbi Bookett is landing this morning, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay.
His arms are exhausted.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are going to get started. We are live here on Facebook. Let's get started. So today we're continuing Parashas Eikev for Friday, Erev Shabbos, wonderful, wonderful Erev Shabbos. And it's the 19th of August, the 22nd of Av, and we are getting running. Okay, so we're continuing now. We're at the part where we're talking about how the Jewish people were chosen to be a light. We were chosen to be a light. And God chose us gave us the land of Israel to inhabit it. For the land to which you are coming to possess. Like Eretz Mitzrayim, Asher Yatzasam Misham. It's not like the land of Egypt that you have left. It's much better than that. As Rashi will say, Asher Tizra Zaracha, where you sowed your seed, Vishkisa Baraglecha Kegan Hayarak, and which you watered by foot like a vegetable garden. Even the land of Goshen and the land of Ramses, which were the best of Egypt, Rashi says, and the best of the land, even that is not like the land of Israel. What does it mean, which you watered by foot? The land of Egypt required bringing water from the Nile by foot in order to water it. You had to rise from your sleep and toil, and only the low-lying areas were watered. The Nile was even a getchke, it was like a god, it was an idol to the Egyptians, because the Nile was the only sustenance to the land and to the people, and only wherever, only along the Nile was where the cities were and where the land was fruitful. And that's why it was so important that when Yaakov came to Egypt, that the Nile raised up. The Nile came up for him, because that was the only way to get water. So let's continue over here, but not the highland. So you had to carry up water from the lower to the higher areas. But this land, namely Canaan, absorbs water from rains of heaven. While you sleep in your bed, the Holy One, blessed be He, waters both low and high areas, both areas that are exposed and those that are not, all at once. Like a vegetable garden. What does the verse mean by that? Which does not have enough water from rain, and one has to water it by foot, carrying water upon one's shoulder. However, the Arts Asher Atum Ivrim Sham, but the land to which you pass to possess, Lirishta, Eretz Hoirim Uvekais, it's a land of mountains and valleys, Limtar Hashamayim Tishtamayim, and absorbs water from the rains of heaven. What does it mean? The mountain land is superior to the land of the plain. On the plain, in an area of land that would produce a core, a measure of grain, one would actually sow only enough seed to produce a core. On the mountain, however, from an area of land that would produce a core, one could take out of it 5 cores, 4 from its 4 slopes and 1 on its summit. This is interesting. That Rashi or the Sifri seem to hold that this mountainous terrain is better. A land that Hashem looks after. God's eyes of Hashem are always upon it. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year. This is one of those famous verses, talking about the land of Israel. God's eyes are on it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Asher Hashem Elokecha Deir Shaisa, But does he not look after all lands? What does it mean that God looks after this land? Doesn't he look after all the lands? Rather, it is as if God cares only for it, and with that caring which he cares for it, he cares for all other lands along with it. But this is a primary thing that Hashem looks. What does it mean? The eyes of Hashem are always upon it, to see what it requires and to make for it new decrees, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad, as is found in Tractate Rosh Hashanah. So there's extra attention. The extra attention comes for good and also, God forbid, for the negative. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, Rosh Hashanah, it is judged what will be at its conclusion. In other words, on Rosh Hashanah, the entire year is judged for the land of Israel. Let's go to the next one. And it will be, if you listen to the mitzvahs that I'm commanding to you today, to love your God, to serve him with all of your heart and with all of your soul. The service of the heart, this is important. That is prayer. That is called the service of the heart. So when we say we have to you should serve Hashem with your whole heart, this is referring to prayer. And I will give the rain of your land at its time, and the early rain and the later rain. And you will gather in your grain, your wine, and your oil. At its time, the rain, at night. So it will not disturb you. Another explanation of at its time, on Shabbos, Friday nights, when everyone is home. So Hashem is saying he will give the rain of the land to its time. Not just will Hashem give us great rain, he will also give it to us at a good time. V'nasati esav basada livehemtecha ve'achalta v'savata, and I will give grass in your fields for your livestock, and you will eat, and you will be satiated. Why? What does it mean? I will give grass so that you will not have to lead them to distant pastures. Another explanation that you will be able to trim your grain all through the winter and cast it before your livestock. And if you refrain from doing this 30 days before the harvest, it will not produce any less grain. What does it mean? You will eat and you'll be satiated. This is another blessing, that the bread will be blessed within the stomach, that you may eat and be satiated. Be aware lest your heart be misled. And you turn away and worship strange gods and prostrate yourself before them. Be careful. Since you will eat and be full, be aware that you do not rebel against Hashem. For nobody rebels against Hashem, blessed except out of satiety. So sometimes when things are good, when things are rough, that's when we're like, oh God, help us. When things start getting good, and we've seen this in history repeat itself. Not that, God forbid, we want negative things to happen, but at a time of persecution and at a time of struggle is when we always remember, oh, there's a God. But even in the times of plenty, when we are satiated, when we ate, when we live in a wonderful country that gives us freedoms, and we're able to practice our religion, do we? And we're able to serve God. We don't have to go out to the desert like the Jewish people had to ask to leave Egypt to go out to. We can serve Hashem right where we are. And the question is, do we use that opportunity? This is saying, if you do serve other gods, then the wrath of Hashem will be kindled against you. And you close off the heavens and there will be no rain. And the ground will not give its produce. And you will perish quickly from upon the good land that Hashem gives you. What do you mean, you will perish quickly? In addition to all the other sufferings, I will exile you from the land that caused you to sin. This may be compared to a king who sent his son to a feast hall and admonished him, do not eat or drink more than necessary, so you will arrive home clean. The son, however, did not take heed. He ate and drank more than he needed, and he regurgitated and soiled all the guests. Oh gosh. They took him by his hands and feet and threw him behind the palace. So if we're going to overindulge ourselves, we're going to get thrown behind the palace. V'samtem es dvarim ela al levavchem, and you shall set these words upon your heart, v'al nafshechem, and upon your soul, ukshartem oisem liyos al yedchem, and you will bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be an ornament between your eyes. Guess what this is talking about? This is talking about the tefillin. Even after you have been exiled, make yourself distinctive with my commandments. Put on tefillin and make mezuzahs so that these will not be new to you when you return. Similar, it says, set up markers for yourself. This pasuk, this verse is referring to the tefillin. And you should teach your children. You shall teach them to your sons to speak with them when you sit in your house and when you walk on your way, when you lie down and when you rise. From the moment your son knows how to speak, that's when we teach him Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. That's when we teach already right away when the first verse. And then soon thereafter, we teach this, the Shema. That's another thing that we're going to teach right away. You shall inscribe it upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. That's the mezuzah. In order that your days may increase on the days and the days of your children on the land. And that God swore to your forefathers to give to them as the days of the heaven above the earth. If you do so, they will increase, but if not, they will not increase. For the words of the Torah may be interpreted so that we may deduce from a negative statement its positive inference, and from a positive statement its negative inference. So it says, in order that your days may increase. That means that if you do, your days will increase, but if you don't, your days will not. All right, we were all familiar with some of those words from the Shema. Let us continue in the Tanya. V'hinei mudas zos. It is well known. Yesh beis minei dechilu rechimu. There are two types of awe and two types of love of God. Awe of God and love of God, each of them, there's two of them. Harishayna is the first one. This comes from understanding the greatness of Hashem. You think about Hashem. You think about the world He created. You think about how great He is. And that's one way that it leads you. And this leads you through your understanding of the greatness of Hashem, from what we're able to even understand, that leads you to a love of Hashem and a fear of Hashem. The later, the second way, the higher one than this is one that comes from above as a gift. After one has acquired a love and fear of God as a result of his own contemplation, he is then granted from above a heightened measure of love and fear. In order to get to the second level of Ava and Yira, you can only get to that through first having the first level, through understanding, and not automatically, it's gifted from above a heightened measure, a higher level of love and fear. It's like it was explained elsewhere about the verse, I shall grant you your priestly service as a gift. So what does it mean? She midas ava. The priesthood refers to love. Remember, kohanim, that is their primary thing is love. It's the reason why they, for example, do the taras, because they come from a place of love. But v'chein hu gam kein b'yira. The same thing as yira, that if you do the yira first from below, then you may be granted a higher level of yira from above. V'hinei vadai, for certain, there's no ein aroich klal, there's no comparison between harishaynos shehem toldos haseichel hanivra, regarding the lower level, which comes from your own intellect, and the higher level, which is a godly gift. Obviously, the godly gift of Ava and Yira is going to be way higher than what you can come to for Ava and Yira through your own understanding. Just as there can be absolutely no comparison between creator and created, so can there be no comparison between the love and fear generated by each of these levels. In other words, the level given by the creator is going to be much more than the love and fear of Hashem that we're able to garner on our own. That is why it is these latter degrees of love and fear that are referred to as truth. For the seal of the Holy One, blessed be He, is truth. Shehu emes amiti. This is the truth, the real truth. And all truth among created beings is considered as nothing. Since God is absolute truth, the love and fear that emanate from Him are deemed truth as well. How can you merit this higher level of emes Hashem, of true truth, a truth from God? It is by arousing great compassion in God's eyes for the spark in your soul. This is the compassion is the attribute of Yaakov, Mavriach me'akotza lakotza, who bolts from one end through the other. I'm not sure what that exactly means, but the Hainu, again, and there's a lot of times when I feel like I don't understand, then the Alter Rebbe explains. The Hainu, Merum Hamayla ad lamata mata, from the uttermost of all levels to the lowest. Lahamshech emes Hashem la'olam hashafel hazeh hachashov, to causing the truth of Hashem to flow to this dark world. K'moshe kasav, ki eshev b'choshech Hashem la'orli. When I sit in darkness, God is a light unto me. V'zeu ki gavar aleinu chasdai, for His kindness has prevailed over us. God's kindness has prevailed over the darkness of this world, illuminating even that aspect of a man's soul that is clothed within his body. In answer to the question asked above, then, it is now clear that the way by which one can arrive at God's truth is by arousing divine compassion. So we need to be able to arouse Hashem's compassion for us, and this will bring us to the true truth. In order to arouse God's great compassion, it needs to be done in truth. That's how, and that will bring us to emes la'amitai. The gam keshu be'emes shaloi, even when it's something is true in our be'emes shaloi, in our truth, right? Not in the godly truth, but in our truth. Through your truth, one can arouse the supernal compassion for the godly truth. Okay, And how do we get to our truth? So if we're able to, how do we do this? How are we mis'erer rachmim rabim? How are we arousing God's great compassion to get to that truth? Achar eitzel zahi, the solution recommended for this, midas tzedakah, the attribute of charity. Midas harachamim, because that is the attribute of compassion. Among the less laid migarmei, for he who has nothing of his own. Lahachi is ruach shvala, to revive the spirit of the lowly. When you give tzedakah, that's when we bring, that's the act from below that will draw down from above. Ubisarusa de lasata. I'm sure Rabbi Buka has talked about this around. Sarusa de lasata is the arousal from below. That's what Isarusa de la'edla, that's what brings, that's what elicits an arousal from above. Hashem ma'orer, yeshenim will make its nirdamim. God rouses those who sleep and awakens those who slumber. Heim bechinas rachmim rabim v'chasadim el yonim hane'elamim. He arouses his great compassion and the attribute of kindness that's concealed. In order to do that, tzedakah is the we talked about the other day how doing mitzvahs versus limud haTorah, versus the study of Torah, and now we're talking about the power of tzedakah. So that they emerge from concealment into manifestation and into a great illumination. So that a man is illuminated with the light of life, with the truth of God onto this world. That's why it says the word zriya in relation to tzedakah, to charity. Zriya means sowing. Sowing. What happens when you sow? Something gets sprouted. La'atzmiach emes ha'elyon emes Hashem. One thereby causes the emes Hashem, the truth of God, to sprout. It uses the word sowing with regard to tzedakah because tzedakah is rachamim, is compassion. And we said compassion is how to bring out the truth of God. Ubefrat b'tzedakah v'chesed shel emes she'osim im eretz hakodesh tibana v'sikonis b'meher v'yameinu amen. This is achieved especially through acts of charity and true kindness that are done for the benefit of the Holy Land. This is interesting. Specifically, tzedakah that is given. The Alter Rebbe actually went to prison because of lies, but he was sending funds to the poor of Eretz Yisrael, and those against the Alter Rebbe, they told the Tsar that he was supporting a foreign power. So the Alter Rebbe actually lived by this and paid a heavy price for this type of tzedakah to the land of Eretz Yisrael. He actually sent money, and that was falsely used against him. He was sending money to poor people in Eretz Yisrael and to yeshivot and to the infrastructure in Eretz Yisrael, because apparently, I guess there was more funds in Russia and in Eastern, Western Europe, I guess at that time, or Eastern Europe at that time, than there were funds in the land of Eretz Yisrael. It was very poor. So, and Alter Rebbe puts right here that this is the especially charity that goes for the land of Eretz Yisrael is the way to get to this true emes la Hashem, the real truth. L'kayim hashakasav emes me'eretz titzmach. Truth shall sprout forth from the land. What does that mean? From the land of Eretz Yisrael. When we give tzedakah to the land of Eretz Yisrael, that's when truth sprouts. By sowing charity in it, that's how it it sprouts. And the kindness and great compassion that are gathered into it and gleaned in it. This correspondingly arouses the supreme graces that are hidden and concealed. How great is your kindness which you have hidden? So the land is established and set up firmly. Both Eretz Yisrael and the Sephira of Malchus and Atzilut must be butt-rested. The latter because of its descent in order to serve as a source of created beings that are lower than the world of Atzilus. I'm not sure what that comment is saying. Through tzedakah shall you be firmly established. This I understand. This is clear. This is very easy to comprehend. Through tzedakah shall you be firmly established, referring to the establishment of the Bnei Yisrael, that through tzedakah, this is how we bring out the emes la'amitai, the true truth, by arousing God's compassion. All right. Let's go to the Tehillim, chapters of Tehillim. Today are chapters 106 and 107. It was a pleasure once again to learn with you like every day. I will miss next week that Rabbi Bucket is back, and I will miss you guys.